Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by tall trees and singing birds, there was a woman named Furo. She was the most beautiful woman anyone had ever seen. Her skin was smooth like fresh milk, and her eyes sparkled like stars at night. When she smiled, it was as bright as the morning sun, and her laughter was as sweet as the sound of birds singing. When Furo walked through the village, men would stop and stare. Their mouths would drop open, and their eyes would follow her every step. Women whispered to each other, "Look at her." Even the wind dances around her. But no man came close to Furo. They only admired her from afar. Even though she was the most beautiful woman, she was always alone. This is because on different occasions when a man she loves wants to get intimate, she always has one excuse: "I'm on my period." And as respect to this, the men would leave her alone, waiting until the day she is ready. But the day never comes. People in the village began to talk. They would gather under the big mango tree and whisper, "Why is she still alone? Why doesn't any man want her?" One old woman shook her head and said, "She must be cursed. Beauty like that is not natural." Another woman added, "Maybe she exchanged her happiness for beauty." They gossiped and laughed, but Furo never said a word. She just smiled and walked away, her head held high. But deep inside, Furo was sad. She had a secret, a terrible secret that she couldn't tell anyone. Her period never stopped. Every month, for 21 days, blood flowed like a river. It was heavy and painful, and no matter what she did, it wouldn't stop. She tried everything: pads, cloths, even leaves from the tallest tree in the forest. But nothing worked. The blood kept flowing. Her clothes were always stained, no matter how hard she tried to hide it. When she walked through the village, people would point and whisper, "Look, there she goes again, the woman who bleeds." Some children even laughed and called her names. "Bloody Furo! Bloody Furo!" they shouted as they ran away. Furo's heart broke each time she heard their cruel words, but she never let them see her cry. She kept smiling, hiding her pain behind her beauty. Every night when the moon was high and the stars were bright, Furo would sit outside her hut and look up at the sky. Tears would roll down her cheeks as she whispered, "Why me? Why am I cursed?" But the sky was silent. No answer came. Only the cold wind blew, making her feel more alone. Furo was tired of pretending, tired of hiding her pain. But what could she do? She was trapped in a beautiful body, with a curse she couldn't break. So, she wiped her tears and forced a smile, hoping that one day her suffering would end. But little did Furo know, her journey was just beginning. One bright morning, the sun was shining high, and the birds were singing sweet songs, when a rich merchant named Siko came to the village. Siko was a handsome man with broad shoulders and eyes as sharp as an eagle's. He was wealthy too. His clothes were made of the finest silk, and his sandals sparkled with gold. The moment Siko stepped into the village, all the young girls giggled and whispered to each other, "Look at him! He is so handsome." They waved their hands and smiled, hoping he would notice them. But Siko didn't see them. His eyes were searching for something else. As he walked through the village, his eyes suddenly stopped. He saw Furo standing under the big mango tree, her skin glowing like the morning sun. Her smile was gentle, and her hair flowed down her back like a river. Siko's heart skipped a beat. He could not take his eyes off her. "Who is that beautiful woman?" he asked a man standing nearby. The man looked at Siko with wide eyes and whispered, "That is Furo, but stay away from her. She is cursed. She bleeds without stopping." Another woman nearby added, "No man can touch her." They say she is not like other women. Some even call her a witch. Siko listened but did not believe them. He looked at Furo again, and his heart spoke louder than the rumors. He did not care about what people said. He only knew one thing. He wanted Furo to be his wife. Without wasting any time, Siko went straight to Furo's father's hut. He knocked on the door, and when her father opened it, Siko said, "I want to marry your daughter. I will pay any price." Furo's father's eyes widened in surprise. "Do you know about her problem?" he asked quietly. Siko nodded. "I know, but I do not care. I love her, and I want to take her as my wife." That same day, Siko paid the bride price, more than anyone had ever paid before. He brought bags of gold, fine clothes, and even a cow. The whole village gathered to watch, their mouths open in shock. "He really paid her bride price," they whispered. "Does he not know? Has no one told him?" But Siko did not listen to their whispers. He was too happy. He believed he was the luckiest man in the world. He smiled and said to himself, "I will love her and make her happy. Nothing else matters." Furo was surprised when her father told her the news. Her heart raced, and she felt butterflies in her stomach. "He wants to marry me, even after knowing I have a secret?" she asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her father nodded. "Yes, my daughter. He loves you, but don't tell him yet. Don't tell him the details of your secret." For the first time in her life, Furo felt hope. Maybe her curse was not as strong as her beauty. Maybe love could break the spell. She smiled softly and whispered, "Maybe my suffering is finally over." But Furo did not know that her journey was just beginning. The wedding day came, and the village was filled with music and laughter as people celebrated. It was the grandest wedding the village had ever seen. Drummers played, women danced, and children ran around with joy. Furo looked beautiful in her wedding dress. Her smile was bright, but inside, her heart was heavy. She was worried. How would she tell Siko her secret? Would he still love her? As night fell, Siko took Furo to their new home. He was happy and full of excitement. He looked at Furo and said, "Finally, you are mine. It's time to do what husband and wife do on their wedding night." But Furo's face grew pale. She knew the moment she feared had come. She sat beside him and took a deep breath. "Siko, I need to tell you something," she whispered, her voice shaking. Siko smiled and held her hand. "What is it, my love?" Furo's eyes filled with tears. "I am on my period." Siko's smile faded a little, but he nodded. "That's okay. I will wait." Days passed and Siko tried touching her again, believing her monthly cycle should be up by now. But Furo kept saying the same thing. "I am on my period." Siko was patient at first. He brought her herbs and warm water, hoping it would help her feel better. He even prayed, asking the gods to heal his wife. But the days turned into weeks, and nothing changed. Furo was still bleeding. Siko grew impatient. He could not understand why his wife was always on her period. He tried to ask her, "Furo, are you sure you are okay?" Furo only nodded and looked away, hiding her tears. One night, Siko's curiosity got the best of him. He decided to find out the truth. As Furo slept, he quietly lifted the blanket. His heart stopped. Blood was everywhere. The bed was soaked, and the smell was heavy in the room. It was not normal. It was like a river that never stopped flowing. Siko jumped back, his face pale with shock. "What is this?" he shouted, his voice trembling. "You are not a woman. You are a curse." Furo woke up, her eyes wide with fear. Please, Siko, let me explain, she cried, reaching out to him. But Siko stepped back, shaking his head. No, you lied to me. You made me marry a monster. His words cut through Furo's heart like a knife. She fell to her knees, crying. I did not choose this. I did not want this curse. But Siko was too angry to listen. He turned his back on her and slept in another room. The next morning, Siko packed Furo's things and called for a horse. Without saying another word, he sent her back to her father's house. The villagers watched as Furo rode away, her face covered in tears. They whispered to each other, "The curse is real. No man can stay with her." Furo's heart was shattered. She thought her suffering was over, but it was only the beginning. She went back to her father's house, feeling more alone than ever before. When she reached her father's hut, she fell to her knees, crying, "Father, Siko has sent me away." Her father's face turned red with anger. He slammed his fist on the ground and shouted, "You bring shame to my name. What kind of woman are you?" Furo's heart broke. She looked up at her father, hoping for comfort, but his eyes were cold. "You are useless," he yelled. "No man will ever keep you." Furo felt like the ground should open and swallow her. She wanted to run far away, but she had nowhere to go. She cried herself to sleep that night, her pillow soaked with tears. Days turned into weeks, and the villagers continued to gossip. They pointed at her and whispered, "She is cursed. She bleeds like a river. No man can stay with her." Furo tried to hide her pain, but every word felt like a knife to her heart. Then one day, a man named Obasi came to the village. Obasi was a brave hunter, tall and strong like a lion. He carried a bow on his back and had a scar on his cheek from fighting wild animals. He heard about Furo's beauty and went to see her. When he saw her standing under the mango tree, his heart skipped a beat. Her skin was smooth like milk, and her eyes sparkled like the morning dew. Obasi was amazed. He asked a villager, "Who is that beautiful woman?" The villager whispered, "That is Furo, the cursed one. She bleeds without stopping. No man can touch her." Obasi shook his head. "I do not believe in curses. I want her as my wife." Without listening to the rumors, Obasi went to Furo's father's hut. He knocked on the door and said, "I want to marry your daughter. I am not afraid of the curse." Furo's father looked at Obasi in surprise. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Many men have run away from her." Obasi smiled confidently. "I am not like other men. I am strong and fearless. I will take her as my wife." Furo's father was overjoyed. He quickly accepted Obasi's bride price and arranged the wedding. Furo was surprised when her father told her the news. "Another man wants to marry me?" she asked, her eyes filled with tears. "Does he know my secret?" Her father waved his hand. "He does not care. Just marry him and do not bring shame to my name again." The wedding was simple but beautiful. Obasi was happy and proud to have Furo as his wife. He believed his love was stronger than any curse. But on their wedding night, Furo sat beside him with a sad face. She looked down and whispered, "I am on my period." Obasi laughed and said, "That is not a problem. I will wait." Days passed and Furo kept saying the same thing. "I am on my period." Obasi waited patiently at first, but as days turned into weeks, his patience ran out. He grew angry and frustrated. One night, he decided to see for himself. As Furo slept, Obasi quietly lifted the blanket. His heart sank. Blood was everywhere. It soaked the bed and dripped to the floor. The smell filled the room, heavy and sour. Obasi's eyes widened in horror. He jumped back and shouted, "This is not normal, you are a witch!" Furo woke up, her body shaking with fear. "Please, Obasi, I can explain." she cried, reaching out to him. But Obasi backed away, his face twisted in disgust. You are cursed! I cannot stay with you. The next morning, Obasi packed Furo's things and threw them outside. Leave my house! He shouted. I do not want to see you again. Furo's heart shattered into pieces. She picked up her things and walked away, her head down and her shoulders heavy with shame. The villagers watched as she passed by, whispering to each other, another man has rejected her. Her curse is real. Furo felt like a shadow, empty and alone. She went back to her father's house, her heart broken once more. She sat outside her hut, looking at the sky. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, Why am I cursed? Why can't I be like other women? But the sky was silent and the cold wind blew, making her feel more alone than ever before. Furo's pain grew deeper, but her journey was far from over. Furo's father was tired of the shame. He could not bear the whispers and laughter of the villagers. Every time he walked through the market, people pointed at him and murmured, That is the man with the cursed daughter. His heart burned with anger and shame. He shouted at Furo, You are a disgrace. I must get rid of you. Furo's eyes filled with tears. She wanted to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come out. She felt like a burden, a curse to her own family. Days turned into weeks and the whispers grew louder. Furo's father could no longer bear the shame. He needed to find a way to get rid of his daughter and save his name. One day, he saw Musa, a trader who sold fine clothes and shiny jewelry in the village. Musa was a quiet man, not as rich as Siko or as strong as Obasi, but he was simple and kind. An idea formed in Furo's father's mind. Musa is new in the village. He knew nothing about me. He knew nothing about my daughter, Furo, and the village wouldn't have told him anything yet. So he approached Musa with a cunning smile and said, Musa, my good man, how are you? Musa looked up and greeted him with respect. I am well, sir. Furo's father placed his hand on Musa's shoulder and spoke softly. I have an offer for you, one that you cannot refuse. Marry my daughter, Furo. If you agree to be her husband and stay in this village with her, I will give you a house and a big farm. You will have wealth and respect. Musa's eyes widened in surprise. A house and a big farm? It was more than he ever dreamed of. He was just a trader, living in a small hut with little to his name. He thought about it for a moment and then asked, Why would you give me all this just to marry your daughter? Furo's father's face grew dark, but he forced a smile. She needs a good man, and you are the one. Besides, I am old. I need someone to take care of my wealth. Musa looked at the house and the land Furo's father pointed to. It was big and beautiful, with fertile soil and tall palm trees. His heart raced with excitement. He could have a better life, a bigger house, and a prosperous farm. He would be respected in the village. He smiled and said, All right, I will marry her. Furo's father's face lit up with joy. He quickly arranged the marriage, not caring if Musa knew the truth. He only wanted his shame to end. Furo was shocked when her father told her the news. You want me to marry again? She whispered, her heart trembling. Her father waved his hand. Yes, marry him and stay with him. Do not bring shame to my name again. Furo's heart grew heavy, but she had no choice. She was tired of being rejected, tired of being alone. She agreed to the marriage, hoping that maybe, just maybe, things would be different this time. The wedding was small and simple. Musa was happy to have Furo as his wife. He looked into her eyes and said, I promise to love you and protect you. Furo smiled, but deep inside, she was scared. Would Musa leave her too? Would he call her a curse like the others? She did not want to lose him, but she knew her secret would come out sooner or later. On their wedding night, Furo looked down and whispered, "I am on my period." Musa smiled softly. "It is okay. I can wait." Furo was relieved. She thought maybe this time things would be different. Days passed, then weeks, but Furo kept saying the same thing. "I'm on my period." Musa grew frustrated. He tried multiple times to be with his wife, but every time Furo gave the same excuse. He began to feel ashamed. He asked himself, what is the purpose of being a married man if I cannot perform my duties as a husband? He tried to be patient, but his patience ran out. His heart grew heavy with disappointment, and he felt like less of a man. One night, he woke up and saw Furo shaking by the bed, trying to clean something. He rubbed his eyes and looked closer. His heart stopped. Blood was everywhere. It dripped from the bed to the floor. It was thick and dark, and the smell filled the room. Musa's face turned pale. He shouted, "What is this? Why is there so much blood?" Furo looked up, her eyes filled with tears. I am sorry," she stammered. "I cannot stop it." Musa backed away, his body shaking. "This is not normal. You are cursed. You are not human. No wonder your father begged me to marry you." Feeling ashamed and defeated, Musa decided he could no longer live like this. He packed his things quietly and left in the middle of the night. He walked away from the house and the big farm, leaving behind everything he was given to marry Furo. He felt empty, his heart heavy with shame. Furo was left alone on the floor, crying, her heart shattered once more. The next morning, Musa did not return. He told the villagers, "She is a witch. I saw blood dripping from her bed like a river." The villagers gasped and shook their heads. "The curse is real. No man can stay with her." They began to fear Furo. They called her the woman who bleeds. Even children ran away when they saw her coming. They shouted, "Stay away from us, you are cursed." Furo's heart was broken. She felt like a shadow, empty and alone. She tried to hide, but she could not escape the whispers and laughter. But the worst was yet to come. The bleeding got worse. It was no longer just 21 days. Now, it never stopped. Day and night, the blood flowed like a river. Furo felt sharp pains in her stomach, like needles poking her inside. She could not sit for 30 minutes without messing up her clothes. Her body felt heavy, and her legs were weak. She was tired of bleeding, tired of being called cursed, tired of living in pain. Furo hugged her knees and cried. Her heart was heavy with pain, and her body was weak from bleeding. She had had enough. She could not take it anymore. She wiped her tears and stood up. Her legs shook, but she took a deep breath and whispered, "I cannot stay here anymore," she whispered. "I cannot keep suffering like this." She packed a small bag with a few clothes and some food. Without looking back, she walked away from the village, her heart broken but determined. She walked and walked, her feet heavy, her body weak from bleeding. The night was silent, except for the sound of her footsteps. The road grew narrow, and the trees became thicker, their branches twisting like arms. The air grew cold, and the darkness felt alive. But Furo's pain was greater than her fear. Suddenly, she saw a faint light shining through the trees. She followed it and saw a small hut, old and crooked, standing alone in the forest. Furo knocked softly on the door, her voice weak. "Please, can I sleep here for the night?" The door creaked open, and an old woman with white hair and tired but kind eyes looked at her. "Come in, my child." Furo felt warmth for the first time in a long while. She followed the old woman inside. The hut was small but cozy, with a fire burning in the corner. The old woman pointed to a stool. "Sit down, child. You look tired." Furo sat, her body aching. She watched as the old woman gathered vegetables and started cooking. As they ate, the old woman asked, "Where are you going so late in the night?" Furo lowered her head. "I do not know. I just want to run away from everything." Her voice trembled as she spoke. "I am cursed. My period never stops. I tried everything, but nothing works. People call me a witch. I am tired of suffering." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I just want to be normal, like other women." The old woman's eyes were filled with pity. She did not speak, but placed her wrinkled hand on Furo's shoulder, warm and gentle. For the first time in her life, Furo felt heard. She felt seen. The fire crackled softly, and Furo leaned against the wall, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She drifted off to sleep, the warmth of the fire wrapping around her like a blanket. The old woman watched her sleep and sighed. "Poor child, your pain is deeper than you know." She covered Furo with a cloth and sat by the fire, her eyes full of wisdom. She knew there was more to Furo's story, but she did not wake her. She let Furo sleep, knowing that her journey was far from over. Morning came, and sunlight peeked through the cracks in the hut. Furo woke up feeling warm and safe for the first time in a long while. But as she remembered her pain, her heart grew heavy again. The old woman smiled at her. "It's time for you to go home," she said. Furo was surprised. "Go home? But where? I cannot return to the village. They call me cursed." The old woman shook her head. "Not to the village. You must go to your mother." Furo's heart skipped a beat. "My mother? Why?" The old woman walked to a small box and took out a shiny necklace. It was golden with a pendant shaped like a star. She handed it to Furo and said, "Take this and visit your mother. Your problem will be solved." Furo's eyes widened. "How will this help me?" The old woman's face grew serious. "Your bleeding is not natural. It is spiritual. Someone cursed you a long time ago." Furo's body shook. "Who did this to me?" The old woman looked at her, her voice firm. "Your own mother." Furo's heart shattered. "No, it cannot be. My mother would never curse me." The old woman sighed. "Love can be twisted. Your mother cursed you, and that is why your bleeding won't stop." Tears rolled down Furo's face. "Why? Why would she do this to me?" The old woman replied, "You must find that out yourself. But be careful. She is not what she seems." Furo's hand shook as she took the necklace. It was cold and heavy, sparkling beautifully. The old woman warned, "Do not remove this necklace from your neck. No matter what happens, it will protect you from your mother's power." Furo stood up, her heart full of fear and anger. "I will go to her. I will find out the truth." The old woman nodded. "Be strong. The truth is a heavy burden, but it will set you free." Furo walked through the forest, holding the necklace tightly. Her heart raced with anger and fear. She was determined to face her mother and demand the truth. She needed to know why her mother cursed her. The necklace felt heavy, glowing with a strange light. Furo did not know what awaited her, but she knew she could not run away anymore. She would face the truth, no matter how painful it was. Her journey was far from over, and the truth was waiting for her. Furo marched straight to her mother's hut, her heart pounding like a drum. The sun was high in the sky, but the air felt cold. Her legs were heavy, and each step felt like walking through mud. The shiny necklace on her neck grew heavier as she got closer. It felt like a rock, pulling her down, but she did not stop. Her hands shook, and her eyes were full of tears. She needed answers. She needed the truth. Inside the hut, her mother sat on a small stool, peeling cassava with quick, steady hands. She was humming softly, a familiar song that Furo remembered from her childhood. Furo's heart twisted with pain. How could her mother, the woman who sang her lullabies, the woman who hugged her when she was scared, be the one who cursed her? She pushed the door open, and her mother looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. Furo, what are you doing here? Furo's voice was cold and shaky. I came for the truth. She reached up and pulled out the necklace. It shone brightly, sparkling like the morning sun. The moment the necklace touched the light, Furo's mother screamed. Her hands flew to her face, and she fell to the ground, shaking. No, no, it cannot be, she cried, her voice trembling. Her body curled up like a frightened animal. At that moment, Furo felt a sharp pain in her stomach. It was like fire burning inside her. Her bleeding became heavier, flowing like a river. The ground beneath her turned red, soaking the earth. Her legs trembled and her body felt weak. She looked at her mother, her eyes filled with pain and confusion. Mother, what did you do to me? Furo's voice was weak, her body shaking. Her mother looked up, her face twisted with anger and fear. But then she started to laugh, a wicked, cruel laugh that echoed through the hut. I own you, she hissed, her eyes glowing with darkness. You are mine. I can do anything I want with you. Her fingers grew into sharp claws. Her hair turned gray, and her face changed into something dark and terrifying. Furo's heart stopped. She stumbled back, her body trembling. She could not believe what she was seeing. The villagers heard the screams and gathered outside the hut. They gasped when they saw the blood flowing like a river. They pointed and whispered, Look, her mother is a witch. Furo fell to her knees, her body weak from bleeding. She looked up at her mother, tears rolling down her face. Why? Why would you do this to me? But her mother only laughed, her voice cold and hollow. Because you are mine. Your beauty is my curse, and your pain is my power. Furo's heart shattered. She felt like a shadow, empty and broken. Her own mother was her curse. Her own mother was the reason for her pain. But before she could speak, a bright light filled the hut, and the air grew warm. Suddenly, the old woman from the forest appeared. She stood tall and strong, her white hair glowing like silver, and her eyes were as bright as the morning sun. She looked at Furo's mother and said in a firm, powerful voice, I am Nia. I am the light. Furo's mother screamed and covered her face. No, not you, she shouted, her voice trembling with fear. Nia stepped forward, her body glowing with light. She lifted a small bowl filled with white milky liquid. Without a word, she splashed the liquid on Furo's mother. The liquid burned like fire. Furo's mother fell to the ground, rolling and screaming. Her body shook, and smoke rose from her skin. I will confess. I will confess, she cried, her voice weak and broken. The villagers watched in shock, their eyes wide with fear and surprise. They had never seen such power before. Furo's mother's voice changed, becoming hollow and cold. I am the head of the Black Witches. I took Furo's womb. I made her bleed without stopping. I enjoyed her pain. Her face twisted with anger and sorrow. I was jealous of her beauty. I wanted her to suffer. Nia's eyes were full of pity. She walked closer and lifted a sharp knife. She cut the black beads on Furo's mother's hands. The moment the beads touched the ground, they caught fire and burned with a bright flame. Furo's mother screamed, My power! My power! Her body shook and her hair turned white. She became old and weak, her beauty fading away. Then suddenly, there was silence. The fire died, and the air grew cold. Furo felt a shift inside her body. The pain was gone. Her bleeding had finally stopped. Nia looked at her with kind eyes. "Your suffering is over, child." Furo stood up slowly, her body light and free. The pain that had haunted her for so long was gone. She looked at Nia with tears of joy. "Thank you. Thank you for saving me." Nia smiled and handed her a small calabash. "Drink this. It will unlock your womb. Do not worry, your beauty will remain." Beauty will. Furo took the calabash and drank. The liquid was sweet and warm, filling her body with light and life. For the first time in her life, she felt whole. Her heart was light, and her body was free. She smiled, her face glowing with happiness. The villagers watched in awe, their mouths open with surprise. They could not believe their eyes. The curse was broken. They looked at Nia and bowed their heads. "Thank you, Great One. You saved her." Nia smiled and turned to Furo. "Your journey was hard, but you are stronger now. Go and live your life in peace and joy." Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, Nia vanished into the light, leaving behind a gentle breeze that danced around Furo. Months later, Furo got married again. This time, it was to a kind man who loved her with all his heart. Her smile was bright, and her laughter was as sweet as the morning birds. Her beauty shone even brighter, and her heart was filled with joy. Not long after, Furo gave birth to triplets, 3 beautiful children who filled her home with laughter and love. She held them close, her heart overflowing with happiness. Her suffering was over, and her curse was broken. The villagers no longer whispered about her. They no longer pointed and laughed. Instead, they admired her strength and courage. They called her the woman who conquered the curse. Furo lived the rest of her life in peace and joy, surrounded by love and happiness. Her journey was hard, but she came out stronger. Her beauty was her blessing, and her heart was finally free. And from that day on, the village remembered her story, a story of pain, courage, and victory. Furo's suffering was over, and her happiness was forever. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, share it with your family and friends, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.